Hi Year 8s. We're going to look at exercise 4b today, where we're going to evaluate expressions. So we're going to be substituting values into an expression and then simplifying those to a value. Okay, we're going to split this exercise into two parts. We're going to look at substituting in one value into an expression, and then we're going to build up to substituting two values, and then towards the end, three values or more. Okay. Here are some key ideas. We've gone through BIDMAS with you in earlier chapters in term 1, so these should be familiar to you, okay, in the order that you do these operations. If we have a look at an example here of how we can write an algebraic expression in expanded form and then in simplified form. So looking here at this example, if we write 4 times a times b in algebra, we can simplify that to just 4ab. I mentioned this in the notes for exercise 4a, where we do not need to write the multiplication sign in algebra. So we are going to keep encouraging you to write in simplified form. It just makes your questions easier to do. Okay. Let's do some examples together. So we are now simply going to substitute just one value into these expressions. So here we are asked to evaluate each expression by substituting 3 for x. What that means is I'm going to replace the letter x now with the number 3. So if we look at our first question, I have x plus 4. If we replace x with our number 3, we now have our calculation as 3 plus 4, which we know is 7. So that one was nice and easy. If we have a look at question B, we have 2x minus 1. So we have a different operation happening here. And again, if you can recall back to my notes from 4a, if you need to go back and watch them, you can do so. But when we have a number and a letter, and I said the term, if we have them stuck together, can't see the sign in between, then we know it's a multiplication. So I'm now going to show your solution here. So now we're going to be doing 2 times 3, and then I write this subtract 1 at the end, okay, because I still have this minus 1. And then we follow our BIDMAS rules. BIDMAS tells me to do the multiplication first. So our 2 times 3 to give us 6. And then I still have my minus 1 here. And then we know that 6 minus 1 gives us 5. You need to take the time, Year 8s, to write these steps out. There's no point in rushing to the end, okay, to avoid making any errors. I'm actually going to show you here on the side an alternative way of writing this kind of working out for this particular question. So I'm just going to get a pen tool here, and I'm going to write, I'm going to do my best here to make sure it looks fairly neat. So you may have opted, instead of writing 2 times 3 with the times sign, some of you might actually write the workings out like this. Oh, that's pretty good writing considering I'm using my mouse. So what I've done here is I've written 2 and then a bracket 3. This actually means the same thing as multiplication, okay? And then, of course, this will end up all being the same after that step, okay? That kind of working out is acceptable as well. All right, moving on. Now we're looking at substituting two values. So I have an expression 5a plus 3b, and we're going to replace a with the number 3 and b with the number 2. So again, 5 with the a stuck together means times. So I do 5 times, a has now become 3. And I have the plus sign. I still have to make sure that that doesn't change. And I now can put in my second value. So b is now replaced with the number 2. And I have 3 times 2. BIDMAS tells us to do multiplications first. 5 3s are 15. 3 2s are 6. 15 plus 6 to give 21. Again, if you wanted to write out this alternatively, I'll just quickly do it here on the side again. Okay, I'm just going to rewrite this step here. I'm not going to do the rest because we know it's the same. In fact, what I'll do is, I'll just draw an arrow here. So we could write these steps as 5 bracket 3, close the bracket, plus 3 bracket 2. Okay, and then the rest is the same. This is part 2 to the substituting, okay, into an expression. We're looking at now more than 2 values. So we're starting to get into some more complex questions, and they may involve more BIDMAS operations as well. So we have been given A is 3, B is 2, and C is negative 4. Okay, this is our first value here where we have a negative. All right, so we need to take careful consideration when we substitute negative values. That may end up changing the sign of your answers. Okay. Looking at question A. I have 2 and a bracket, C minus A, B, close bracket. AB, that's A times B. This 2 is multiplied by everything in this bracket. All right, let's have a look. There are 3 working out steps before the answer. Just like I said earlier, do not rush these questions. You need to show your process. Okay, process sometimes is more important than just giving us the answer. Okay, if we see an answer that's incorrect and we have no working out prior to that, we have no backup to know where you went wrong. Okay, so let's look at this, each line separately. This 2, we leave it. Okay, it's going to just be carried through all the way to the end. We open our bracket. C is now negative 4. I write it in. This minus sign does not change. I leave it. A is 3. B is 2. And we know that that's 3 times 2. Next step. This bracket must get simplified, and I must do this multiplication first. That's where we get the 6, 3 times 2. This minus has not changed, this minus has not changed. Now we simplify what's left in the bracket. Negative 4 minus 6 is a negative 10. This is using your knowledge from chapter 3, working with negative integers. Okay? Then we have our last step where we have a 2, the 2 out the front. Okay, now we're going to finish this off. Multiply it by the negative 10. A positive and a negative is a negative. 2 10s, 20. Let's look at question B. I have a fraction here or a division. The numerator has a b plus 2 times a c, and I'm dividing all of that by 3. So first step, let's just substitute the numbers. B is 2 plus, carry that down. This 2 stays out here. The c is now a negative 4. Okay, and we're putting that times sign. Again, if you just want to put it in there, just the 2 next to the bracket, that's fine. BIDMAS tells us do this multiplication first. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. So now what's happened to this plus sign is become a minus sign because the minus overrules. Then I'm left with 2 minus 8 and then still over 3. 2 minus 8 gives us negative 6. Negative 6 divide 3. Again, think back to chapter 3 integers. Gives us negative 2. All right. These are becoming harder questions, guys, but if you take it step by step without rushing it, you shouldn't have any issues getting to your answer. Now we're going to look at substituting into a formula. So a formula just simply being something that has an equal sign. All right, so here's an example. Y equals 3x plus 5, and I'm going to substitute x is negative 4 for question A and x is 2/3 for question B. Question A, all right, we're doing exactly the same thing, guys, except now I just have an equal sign. Okay, so they could have kept writing the Y letter. Okay, you can keep carrying that through like so. Okay, x is negative 4, BIDMAS, do this first, 3 times negative 4, negative 12 plus 5, negative 7. Question B, we're involving now a fraction. Okay, again, don't be scared of the fractions. You've done this before, we've done this in chapter 1. Okay, you've done it also, worked with fractions in chapter 3, so you just need to apply the operation. 3 times 2/3. Okay, if you want to change the 3 into a fraction, we've done it here by writing it as 3 over 1. And then they've shown a cancelling out. Okay, if you cancel out going diagonally, like so, then 3 on 3 is 1 on 1, which we know doesn't change our value. So we end up essentially with 2 over 1, which we know is 2. Then I have my plus 5 at the end. 2 plus 5 is 7. You can use your calculator as well, Year 8s, just to help you guide through the steps, but you still need to show them. All right, this is the last slide. Now we're looking at some questions where we involve powers. Okay, so we're getting, again, just a little bit more complex. Question A. We have x squared plus 2. X is 3. So if we substitute the x with the 3, we have 3 squared plus 2. 3 squared is the same as 3 times 3. Okay, or if you want to skip this step here, you can go from here straight to here. Okay, that is fine, so long as you simplify correctly. All right, so 3 squared is 9. 9 plus the 2 is 11. Let's look at question B. 5y cubed, or 5y to the power of 3 minus 7. We're going to replace y with 2. That's what the question said. And then we're going to write it as 5 times 2 cubed minus 7. Again, you don't have to do this step here, guys. We can go from here straight to this third step. So 2 cubed is 8. So I've got now 5 times 8 minus 7. 5 eighths are 40. 40 takes 7, 33. And lucky last, x squared minus y squared divided by 10. x is 3. We take 3 and we square it, minus 2 squared. 3 squared is 9. 2 squared is 4. Still have the subtraction sign in between. 9 minus 4 is 5. 5 over 10. Simplify that fraction. Okay, think back. This is chapter 1. Simplification of fractions. We have a half. Okay, that was a bit of a long tutorial, guys, but if you need to go back, re-watch it, listen to it again, okay, do so. Write down these examples into your summary books, okay, and hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks, guys.